So let's talk about it. If the alpha male is dead, if dominance and control are not the blueprint, then what is? How do you become a man God can trust? A man a woman feels safe with? A man that doesn't need to shout to be heard because his presence already speaks. Let me give you some disciplines, not rules, not religion, disciplines. Anchors for becoming him, the kingdom man. Number one, stillness before strategy. Before you conquer a mountain, learn to sit in a moment. A lot of us make a mistake movement for meaning, but God does his best building in silence. Some of the most dangerous men are the quiet ones, not because they're passive, but because they've mastered restraint. So before you speak, pause. Before you act, pray. Before you lead others, sit with God long enough to let him lead you. Stillness is not weakness. It's strength under submission. Number two, sacrifice over spotlight. Kingdom men aren't obsessed with being seen. They're consumed with being sent. So if you need applause to stay consistent, you're not built for covenant. Because sometimes being faithful won't feel fulfilling, but it's still right. What sacrifice means is leaving the party early because you made a promise. Closing the laptop when your child wants attention. Not responding to disrespect with ego, but with integrity. The spotlight is seductive, but sacrifice, that's sacred. Number three, devotion over distraction. This ain't about reading your Bible every morning, which you need to. It's about guarding your gates. What are you feeding with your eyes, your ears, your spirit? You can't ask God to renew your mind while you binge poison every night. You can't pray for peace and then call chaos your entertainment. Devotion looks like deleting the contact, blocking the distraction, turning off what turns you back into who you're not trying to be anymore. This ain't about perfection. It's about pursuit. Number four, vision over vibes. Let's be real. The vibe will lie to you. Lust feels like love when your soul is hungry. Comfort can feel like calling when you're tired of the climb. But a kingdom man doesn't move off how he feels. He moves off what he knows. And if you don't have a vision for your life, you'll always chase validation from people who don't even know where they're going. When a man gets vision, real God-breathed vision, terrifying but anointed vision, he doesn't need to impress anybody. He just moves strategically, obediently, and consistently. Number five, love over lust. We got to say this one plain, because too many men have mastered the chase but haven't learned how to cover. You want to lead a woman? Then love her the way Christ loved the church, with scars, with sacrifice, with selflessness. You see, lust takes, love gives. Lust consumes, love covers. Lust hides behind masculinity, love reveals vulnerability. You see, a kingdom man doesn't need to conquer to prove manhood. He learns how to nurture without losing his strength. See, these aren't just disciplines. They're tools that sharpen you, shape you, sanctify you. You were never created just to be a provider. You were created to be a protector of peace, a prophet in your home, a priest over your household, a pillar in your community. That's manhood. That's purpose. That's legacy. So no, the alpha male ain't the goal. The kingdom man is. And the kingdom man, he builds what doesn't break when storms come. So let's go a little bit deeper, right? We've buried the alpha male. We've laid down the performative masculinity. So now what rises in its place? We're witnessing a resurrection, a rebirth of what real manhood looks like. Not toxic, not timid, but transformed. You don't have to lose yourself to lead well. I need you to hear that. That's the lie that's been sold to our generation of men. To be strong, you have to shut off your emotions. To be respected, you have to dominate. To lead, you have to control. Nah. You were never called to control her. You were called to cover her. You were called to dominate a room. You were never called to dominate a room. You were called to discern what it needs and bring it peace. This new masculinity doesn't shrink when it's vulnerable. It expands. So let's make this practical. A man can cry and still be courageous. A man can serve his wife and still lead with power. A man can be gentle and still be a giant in the spirit. A man can apologize without losing authority. True masculinity isn't weakened by humility, it's weaponized by it. This new masculinity walks in identity, not imitation. It doesn't have to mirror rappers, athletes, or fake online gurus. It mirrors Jesus. The most loving, powerful, servant-hearted man to ever walk the earth. You want to talk alpha? Let's talk about the man who had legions of angels at his command and still washed his disciples' feet. Let's talk about a king who could have called down heaven but chose a cross instead. Let's talk about leadership through love, not fear, not flexing, not control. That's the kind of masculinity we need. You don't have to choose between being strong and being soft. You can be both. You must be both. Because the next generation of men is watching you. And the next generation of women, they're praying for men who are whole, not hardened. So what rises from the ashes of the alpha is the man who doesn't have to prove he's a man. A man who builds homes, not just hustles. A man who listens before he lectures. A man who doesn't need to conquer women to feel confident in himself. A man who walks into a room and brings stability, not storms. That's what's rising. That's who's rising. You. So let's land this part. If we want to raise daughters who are fearless, we have to model manhood that's faithful. If we want to see fewer broken homes, we need more whole men. If we want legacy, we need leadership that looks like love. To rise, the rise of the new masculinity that I'm talking about isn't about taking back your power back. It's about learning where it comes from God, from healing, from humility, from identity. That's how you lead without losing yourself. Let's go ahead and say what most men have never been given permission to say out loud. I'm tired of pretending I'm okay. There's a whole army of men walking around looking strong but bleeding silently, holding it down, carrying it all, drowning in everything they've never processed. And society, and sometimes even the church, told us, man up, get over it. Just don't cry in public. But here's the truth. Unhealed men don't just hurt in silence. They lead from it. And when you lead from pain, everybody under your influence ends up bleeding too. That's why healing is the real flex. Not the gym, not the 6 figures, not the 10 women in your DMs. Healing. Healing from the father that never affirmed you. Healing from the mother wound that still shapes your self-worth. Healing from the breakup that made you swear off vulnerability for good. Because when a man heals, he becomes dangerous in the best way. Dangerous to generational curses. Dangerous to dysfunction. Dangerous to the idea that men are only valuable when they perform. But let me tell you something real. Emotional intelligence is not a weakness, it's a warfare. Because when you can name what you feel, you can stop fighting the wrong enemies. You realize your wife ain't your enemy. Your boss ain't your trigger. That anger, that withdrawal, that shutdown mode, it's a smoke signal. Your emotions aren't lying, they're leading. They're trying to take you back to a place where something got broken. So God can finally make it whole. This ain't therapy talk. This is kingdom talk. Because the word says a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. That's Proverbs 25 and 28. You see, you can't lead her if you can't regulate you. You can't build legacy if your emotions are still leading the demolition crew. And I know healing is hard. It means confronting the silence, facing the abandonment, owning the fact that your success might have been a coping mechanism. But let me speak life into you right now. You are not your wounds. You are not your reactions. You are not the little boy who had to grow up too fast. You are a man in process. And God is still healing you, not because you're weak, but because he knows what he's building is stronger than ever.